The DOJ is holding the invite-only meeting to update a hand-picked group with the status of the investigation. It's closed to the rest of the public and the media.
Got the strangest feeling that it's going to go from a civil investigation to a criminal.
Kenneth Ellis Jr. is approaching a painful anniversary. January 13th marks 4 years since his son, an Iraq war vet, was shot and killed by APD in a 7-Eleven parking lot as he was holding a gun to his own head. A judge ruled that shooting unnecessary, and a jury awarded the family $10 million. That was one of the highest profile police shootings in a wave of shootings and bad behavior that spurred on a federal investigation into the culture at APD.
A couple, 2-3 months into it, I spoke to one of the DOJ investigators, and she told me that she was totally overwhelmed by what she's learned as far as this civil rights violations go.
The Department of Justice hasn't provided any public updates since the investigation was announced 14 months ago, and tomorrow's meeting is shrouded in secrecy. The DOJ told a handful of people invited, quote, "You are receiving this invitation because you previously provided information to DOJ and or have indicated an interest in being informed on matters relating to the investigation." But not everyone who wanted to be invited to that meeting here at the U.S. Attorney's Office was. And a day after sending out that invitation, they sent another email to the same group. That one said, quote, "I have received replies from individuals who were not invited. We would appreciate it if you did not forward the invitation to others." Activist Charles Arasim, who was invited, says he doesn't expect the DOJ to reveal much about its investigation.
They know that if they tell us much, we're going to broadcast it because we're not quiet, and it's just not something that we do. We're citizens, and we believe that everybody needs to know what's going on.
Today, the Insider exclusive investigative news team visits with Albuquerque Civil Rights Lawyer Derek Garcia, founder of the law office of Derek Garcia, in a new network TV special, Civil Rights Justice, Albuquerque Police, and Michael Cruz's story. To examine how Michael's constitutional rights were violated by the Albuquerque Police and several of its officers. The Violent Crime Control and Law Enforcement Act of 1994 prohibits state and local governments from engaging in a pattern or practice of misconduct by law enforcement officers that deprive individuals of federally protected rights. The department has conducted similar investigations into the use of force by law enforcement agencies, both large and small, across the country. Under Title IV of the United States Code, Section 1983, civil rights of individuals are protected from misconduct by law enforcement officials. It is unlawful for any arresting officer or enforcer of the law to act in a manner that deprives or restricts the rights of any person. Police misconduct can take many forms, including, but not limited to, police brutality, malicious prosecution, false arrest, false imprisonment, the use of excessive force, police beatings, taser abuse, and police shootings. Police misconduct lawsuits since 2010 have resulted in a tab of more than $24 million for Albuquerque taxpayers. The number will likely increase as several suits are ongoing, and recent officer-involved incidents may result in new lawsuits being filed. Included in the $24 million figure is a $7.95 million settlement with the family of an Iraq war veteran, Kenneth Ellis III, who was fatally shot in the neck by APD officer Brett Lamperis Trimba while holding a gun to his own head. Another high-profile case was settled in mid-December 2013 when the city agreed to pay $900,000 to the family of Alan Gomez. Gomez was shot by Officer Sean Wallace after the girlfriend of Gomez's brother called police asking for assistance. A federal lawsuit that is still ongoing involves the fatal shooting of Christopher Torres, who had a history of mental illness and was shot 3 times in the back at close range in the backyard of his parents' Albuquerque home. Torres was the son of Deputy County Manager Renetta Torres. APD officers have fired on 34 suspects since early 2010. APD has justified all of them. 22 of those shootings ended in fatalities. Of the 34 men shot by police since 2010, 13 were not armed with guns. Here's a list of the Albuquerque Police Department fatal and non-fatal shootings from only 2010 through 2013. As Derek has often said, the problem of police brutality is much more widespread than most Americans are willing to admit. Our nation practices a selective blindness. In this great and strong nation, we have all become unwitting accomplices to the continuation of the conflict. Derek has earned the highest respect from citizens and lawyers alike as one of the best civil rights trial lawyers in Albuquerque and across the nation. He has seen many innocent and hardworking people become victims of police brutality. He understands that police brutality is one of the most serious, enduring, and divisive human rights violations in the United States. The problem is not just in New Mexico, but nationwide, and its nature is institutionalized. And because of that, he is driven to fight for people who have been harmed by the willful or negligent actions of others. He learned a long time ago that if a man hasn't discovered something he will die for, he isn't fit to live. His goals? Not only to get justice for his clients, but to make sure all Americans have the right to a fair trial, honest cops, impartial prosecutors, and fair judges with no agendas. Because injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And justice and power must be brought together so that whatever is just may be powerful, and whatever is powerful may be just. This is the Insider Exclusive, live from Albuquerque, New Mexico. It is my great pleasure to introduce Derek Garcia to the show. Welcome to the show, Derek.
Thank you. Good to be here.
Tell our audience a little bit about your law practice.
I'm mainly devoted as a solo practitioner to plaintiff civil rights cases that involves litigating the Constitution of the United States, primarily the Fourth Amendment, which protects citizens against unlawful searches and seizures. I also do criminal defense and a little bit of family law and some entertainment law, mainly music, books, music, that sort of thing.
Before we even came here, I did a little research on you. You are what I call a true believer. You were a social activist before you became a lawyer, right?
Yes, I try to inform my work as an attorney with my college experience of working in social justice movements, you know, various demonstrations for globalization issues, anti-war demonstrations, that sort of thing that I was active with in college, as well as environmental justice activism.
Today we're here talking about a case that you are currently representing for Michael Cruz, right?
Correct.
Tell our audience a little bit about the facts of this case and where it is right now.
Mr. Cruz is a member of our community. He is a local union man, has been working in the plaster trade. He was residing peacefully in his home in 2011 when an anonymous creditor, whom we still haven't identified, decided to call APD because he had a apparent grudge against Mr. Cruz. Calls APD, says there's a drunken man in the front yard waving around a gun and his, a liquor bottle.
Yeah.
APD shows up, talks to a few neighbors. The neighbors decide that there's no such man with a gun or any kind of, causing disturbance in the neighborhood, and can't understand why they've been called there, but go up to the residence anyway, where Mr. Cruz comes out of the door. He has his house surrounded by heavily armed APD officers.
Kind of a SWAT team, right?
Yeah, a SWAT team sort of situation. And he says he's very afraid because he's heard of a lot of the police shootings, whether justified or unjustified, in the media, over the last few years. He has his palms facing forward. He has no signs of intoxication, no watery eyes, and is afraid of being shot by the police officers surrounding his home. And they order him to come out of his house, which he refuses to do. From what we can see, and we're still in the initial stages of the investigation on this particular case, but they had not established either reasonable suspicion or probable cause to even make that command that he come out of his house. When he didn't come out of his house, they decided to pull him out instead. And they pulled him out, handcuffed him, transported him to jail. He spent a few days in jail, ended up being prosecuted for disorderly conduct, criminally prosecuted for disorderly conduct and concealing identity for about 1 year and 3 months, I believe, after his arrest, his wrongful arrest.
What was the result of that prosecution?
It was eventually dismissed in his favor because there was no probable cause establishing anything that they did, and a disorderly conduct charge was trumped up against them to basically, make
justify the wrongful arrest. Correct?
Right. Yes, correct. And they
What
proceeded
is concealing your identity? What's all that about?
To this day, you'd have to ask the officers that question, I believe. But I think it had something to do with not having his license on him, or something along those lines. After pulling him out of his own home, they then searched his whole home. They searched his home. They'll call it a protective, wingspan search, even though there were no exigent circumstances. But they found no liquor bottles. They found no firearms, no guns, nothing. And
but they still arrested him.
Still arrested him. Still prosecuted him under the full extent of the law. It's from what we can see, and of course it's the very initial stages of investigation.
We have with us your client, Michael Cruz. We also have your co-counsel with us, Rachel Walker Alyasi. So we're going to have them on right now so they can tell us a little bit about what happened that day. I want to thank you for being on this show. Michael, take us back to that day when you were arrested, when the cops came there. What was going through your mind? You saw them walking down the sidewalk with automatic weapons and full military gear. What was going through your mind?
Well, actually, it was. I seen the police officer walking from my neighbor's house from the east to the west, or west to the east. I'm sorry, with a shotgun raised up through the window, and I thought that something was happening on the street. That maybe they had somebody pulled over. I didn't, so I went to my door and to look out to see what was going on. And there they were, 3 of them, 2 with shotguns and 1 with a pistol at my door, pointing the guns at me, ordering me out of my house. And I was in shock. I didn't know what to think. I was just in shock, to see him there. Yeah. And they tried to pull me out of my house at first, and I pulled my arm away from them, and then again they grabbed me the second time, but I had let them pull me out by that time because I wasn't fighting with them. I had no idea what they were doing there.
You were in fear for your life.
Yes.
Because in this city there had been a lot of shootings, and your biggest fear was what?
I thought they were going to shoot me. I knew I was by myself. My wife and my grandchildren had went to the store. And so I was by myself, and I thought they were just going to shoot me outside, and there was no witnesses.
Now, you were arrested. You were charged with what?
With
disorderly
not
conduct?
identified myself, and with disorderly conduct.
Yeah, and you were convicted of that, weren't you?
No.
You were not. The case was thrown out.
The case was dismissed by the judge
because
there was no reasonable suspicion for the officers to even be on the property.
Right. We're on national TV right now, and what do you have to say to the Albuquerque Police Chief, the citizens of Albuquerque, about what happened to you?
I just feel that they first of all, they need to learn the Constitution.
Yeah.
Because they clearly don't, these police officers don't know nothing about the Constitution and people's constitutional rights. They went in there, when I told them they wanted to go into my house that day, I told them I didn't want them to go in they don't have a search warrant, and they still went into my house, searched my house. And they need to be trained in the Constitution above anything else, because that's what protects all of us. And I just feel that they're out of control here in the city.
It takes a lot of courage to come forward and file a lawsuit like this, because a lot of people think, and Rachel, you would vouch for this, a lot of people think they're going to be retaliated against by the police, correct?
That's correct.
When Michael first walked into your office, when you heard his story, what were your immediate thoughts?
My immediate thoughts were oh my God, I cannot believe there was such a flagrant violation of an individual's rights.
Now, you have a unique perspective because you're not only a criminal defense lawyer, but you also sat on the bench, didn't you?
I sat on the bench, and prior to that, I was a prosecutor for many years.
So you've been both sides of the street.
I've been on all sides, yes.
Yeah. And when you see something like this, it just kind of like tears you apart, doesn't it?
It tears me apart because I do believe in justice. I do believe in the system. I do believe that the United States has the best system in the world. And I was discouraged because the more I heard, the more I realized that Albuquerque is losing faith and losing confidence in their police officers, in their ability to protect citizens and to follow the law. I was very discouraged.
How do you, obviously you want to see this case successfully resolved for Michael, but how do you see the police department here basically cleaning their act up? What's it going to take?
I'm hoping with the new police chief that has been named, I am hoping with the Department of Justice investigation, and in fact, the Department of Justice contacted me about this case specifically, and I believe that they were investigating this as one of the cases. I would like to see better training. I would like to see a police chief and an administration that hold the police accountable. I would like to see the public confidence restored. I've been in this community for over 20 years, and I have dealt with many, many, many police officers over my career, and I have tremendous respect for most of them. Most of them are honest. Most of them do the right thing. They know the law. Out of this, like I said, I would like to see the public's faith restored in the Albuquerque Police Department through the upper echelon.
Well, I certainly hope with the Department of Justice investigation in cases like this it is. Michael, your parting words to America about what you would like to see happen to the cops that abused you and violated your rights, and what advice you give to people when cops do come to your house like this.
I'd like to see something happen to them, be prosecuted. I feel, and down in my heart, like if I was kidnapped out of my house at gunpoint and held for ransom up in the county jail over there, because I had to pay a bail to get out. Keep a video camera ready. Always use your cell phone and just keep them at bay with that, because their lapel video is also protects you, not only just them, but film them, keep them on film, and put them in check that way.
Right. Well, I want to thank both of you, and we wish you a lot of success. You're going to get it.
Thank you.
And thanks for being on our show.
Thank you very much for having us.
We were very anxious to do this story, and I'll tell you why. Because even though Michael's case is still in its early stages of investigation, there has been a lot of problems with the Albuquerque Police Department, right? From our understanding, in the last 3 or 4 years, there have been 33 people shot, 22 were killed, 13 of them were unarmed, correct?
That's correct.
There's a federal investigation. It's been ongoing for about 2 years. I read recently that they are concluding that investigation. I don't know whether they have or not, but what's going on here in Albuquerque?
I grew up here in Albuquerque. As a child, I don't remember these kind of, allegations in the media of police misconduct on a regular basis. So, when I hear about the Department of Justice investigation here, and I hear about, regular patterns and practice of denying, citizens their civil rights, I tend to take it a little more personally, perhaps, because this is, my own home. This is my backyard. There have been an extraordinary number of police shootings. There have been an extraordinary number of excessive force claims against APD. However, some of them are substantiated, some of them aren't, some of them are justified uses of force, some of them aren't. And that's what we have a court system for, to attempt to achieve justice and to, sort of separate out those claims which are truly egregious abuses of power from claims which, perhaps the police were justified. There are many, many good police officers in this city. Mm-hmm. In fact, the majority of them are. There are, however, a few bad apples, I think, that have been causing us to have a bad name.
What has the Albuquerque Police Department chief done to improve the department, if anything?
Nothing that we can see, although we have a brand new chief, so I'm cautiously optimistic that he's immediately implementing some changes in police procedure as well as training changes that will preemptively, regardless of what the federal investigation shows, solve some of the problems which have been plaguing us over the last few years.
Mm-hmm. You know, in selecting your cases, because you have a lot of people call you with so-called civil rights violations, how do you choose your clients and how do you choose those cases?
I tend to gravitate toward the clients that have been, truly wronged, in the sense that it's not always about just an easy claim. It's about what's right and true under the law. So a lot of times clients with disabilities, will contact me. So I try to help out those who otherwise wouldn't be able to find an attorney in the first place, and to give as much voice to the voiceless as possible. Yeah. However, there's always challenges to doing so. You can't help everyone, and not everyone has an amazing case. But we do tend to gravitate toward the cases where those who have less power in our society, less access to justice, can find a place for justice under the law.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're doing a great job, and I really appreciate it. That's why we're here today. And keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. You can get more information about our guest and the issues at InsiderExclusive.com.